Okay, everybody, we are, I think, now over the technical difficulties. Sorry. And we will get going here. I apologize. I am not the technical person. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Y'all can type in the chat. Tell me how y'all are doing. You know what? Just let me ask. Well, I'm not sure how to do that. I'm going to ask you all to unmute, and let's just have a quick conversation before we get going tonight on sleep. Did that work for anybody? I see Joy is unmuted. Anybody else? Vanessa is unmuted. Okay, so tell me, how are y'all doing with these videos? How are things going? Any updates for me?
This is my first time to be on a Zoom.
Okay. Okay, great. But you've been watching the weekly videos?
Yes, I just started because I just joined.
Okay, great. No, not a problem. You can go back and catch up on any that you missed so far. So hopefully, Joy, you will enjoy what we're doing here and learn a lot as we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. How did you come about joining? I'm curious.
I heard about you from Scott Laird.
Oh, okay, great.
On his, on the wellness videos on Rude Awakening.
Yes. Yeah, I talked to Scott today. Great. Okay, awesome. Well, glad to have you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. So we got a few people still coming in, but let them in. All right. So we still got a few coming in, and again, I apologize. That's my fault on the technical stuff, but we'll jump right into it. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I will get to them. So what we want to do each week is give you a video that gives you information that you can really take and use for obtaining optimal health and being the CEO of your own health. And I think tonight it's important to start out with a quick story. So I got two different cameras I'm supposed to be looking at, y'all. So if I'm going back and forth, I apologize. But listen, the reason that I think this membership is so important, and I appreciate all y'all being here, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to invest in your health and wellness and fitness, because we have a really broken system. And I'm going to give you a real live story. This is going to be quick, but I think it's important to understand why you have to be the CEO of what happened to a couple that I am the pharmacist for. Luckily, they have been through my wellness program, and they have done a lot of what y'all are learning on these weekly videos. And so they were smart enough to avoid the disaster that the system could have put them in. So this is a young couple in their mid-20s, married for a couple years now. The wife is pregnant with twins. So today in the OB world, they consider all twins to be high risk. All twin pregnancies are going to be considered high risk. This is their first babies, so they've never done it before. So if you've ever done it, you remember, the first time you're not really sure exactly what's going on, and sometimes, and you need some help. So anyway, they call me on Saturday morning about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and said, hey, she's having severe right lower quadrant pain. And, she's using the supplements, she's drinking the water. We had a consultation before she ever got pregnant. She's doing everything, to the best of her ability to do things right. And they said, what do you think we should do? We don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want, I was like, well, listen, if she's in that much pain, she was vomiting. She vomited so much that she busted the blood vessels in her face and around her eyes. And she just couldn't keep anything down. I said, look, if she gets dehydrated, it's a real problem. You need to go get checked out. So they call their OB office, tell them they're high risk, call if you need anything. So they call. It's a Saturday, though, at lunchtime, or close to it at this time. Go to the ER. Well, if any of you have been to the ER lately, you know how that might have started out. So they do it, though, because they're a little bit concerned, and I obviously suggested that they go. And her mom had gotten involved at this point, was like, you need to go get checked out. So anyway, convinced them to go to the ER. They go in, and they tell them, she's in pain, she's vomiting, she can't keep anything down. She's literally 19 weeks and 4 days pregnant with twins. And they said, we called the OB office and they said to come here. And they said, we'd really like to get up to the OB floor and be seen. Now, I don't know who makes these arbitrary rules. I don't know who's in charge of all this nonsense. But they told them, quote, she's not 20 weeks. She can't see the OB. I'm like, yeah. So the husband was like, well, she's 19 weeks and 4 days. If you round up, she's 20 weeks, And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't let her go to OB. So 6 hours later, they really didn't know any more than they knew when they got there. But the pain had subsided some. They had given her something for nausea. And they said, they did an ultrasound and said, everything looks good. We don't think it's any premature labor. We don't see anything that would indicate she has a gallbladder. I told them, I said, check gallbladder, check appendix, check pancreas. They said, we don't see anything that would indicate that. So they called and said, hey, they're going to send her a prescription for her nausea. Can you get it for us maybe in the morning? I was like, no, I'm going to get it for you tonight. I'm not going to wait till in the morning. If she's nauseous and sick and needs it, let's get it tonight. So I go to the pharmacy, and now all these prescriptions these days are sent electronically, right? They're not written out anymore, very seldom. So I go into the pharmacy this is 10:30 at night because they'd just gotten released. And the husband had told me, he said, they're going to give her this one prescription for nausea. So I go into the pharmacy and I click and turn on the e-script thing, it's called, and there's 3 prescriptions there for her. And I looked, and one was hydrocodone with Tylenol, acetaminophen, and one was an antibiotic, and one was the nausea pill. So I'm at the pharmacy and I call the husband back and I say, hey, I just want to verify, you told me they were giving her a nausea pill. And there's 3 prescriptions here for her. And he said, no. He said, the doctor was clear. You're going to give her the nausea pill only to be used if needed. Nothing else showed up. There was no other things. Only take Tylenol. She had to for the pain. He said, I'm reading the discharge papers and it says this is the only prescription. I said, okay, I just wanted to verify what you want me to fill for you and bring to you tonight because, if she needs it, she needs it. But if she doesn't, she doesn't. I was like, but I don't think being pregnant, they would want her to have this antibiotic. And I don't think being pregnant, they would want her to have this pain pill. And he said, no, they told, we don't want it. And no, they didn't say anything about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to fill your nausea pill, but I think you should call back and verify everything. So he calls back, and this is, like I say, 10 or past 10 at night on Saturday night. And he says, hey, we just left there a couple hours ago or whatever now, and we have 3 prescriptions at the pharmacy. You clearly only told us there's one for us, and there's only one on the discharge instructions. And the answer was, well, shifts changed at 9. We can't help you. And he's like, but you understand, she's can't say 20 weeks because she's only 19 weeks and 4 days. And apparently, can't be seen by OB at that point. So long story short, he has to call back the next morning when the folks that were on the night before are back, or the day before. And they said, oh, yeah, those were the 2 drugs she was on that we want her to discontinue. And he's like, she has never been on a drug in her life, and we didn't mention anything about these 2 drugs, and y'all didn't say anything about discontinuing because she's not on them, but you sent 2 prescriptions for her to start. So my whole point in the story is, if they weren't savvy enough to be the CEO and understand, it could have been a disaster for the wife and or maybe the 2 young babies that are growing in her. So this is why being a member of this CEO, OptiU CEO membership is so critically important. I really believe, and I talk a lot about it on the weekend class, and we can get into it more, but our medical system it's a shambles. I mean, it really is, and it's sad. And they were hesitant to go to the emergency room or call the doctor even, but in that situation, I think that's the prudent thing certainly to do. So my point is that you have to know. You have to ask questions. You have to question everything. You just have to know what's going on, because it's too dangerous not to, right? She could have taken 2 drugs that could have harmed the babies that they didn't even mean to prescribe for. So I don't know if those 2 drugs are supposed to go to some other patient. I have no idea. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that and get into the topic of this month, which is sleep. So sleep is critically important for all of us. I get it. In America, we're busy, we're stressed out, I get it. I mean, there's a lot going on. But here's the deal. The dangers of not sleeping and not sleeping well and not getting quality sleep, and the dangers of sleeping on some of these prescription drugs, as a good CEO, you need to know about these things. So that's why I believe that, there's over 75 million Americans that suffer from chronic sleep problems. So just think, we got over 75 million Americans that are suffering from chronic sleep problems. And people, listen, this is really critical information, I think, for us to understand. People who don't sleep or sleep poorly have up to 400% more accidents than those who don't get a good night's rest. Not sleeping enough increases our risk of chronic diseases. Studies that looked at over 470,000 adults found that those who slept less than 6 hours per night had a 48% increased risk in coronary heart disease. So not sleeping 6 hours or more a night had a 48% increased risk of coronary heart disease, 30% increased risk of dementia, 15% increased incidence in the risk of stroke, 50% cancer risk, 17% higher risk of diabetes, 95% increase in depression, and a 750% increase in the risk of obesity. So here's the thing. We talked about in the videos for the members this past month, the reason for some of these issues is if we don't get 6 hours or more of sleep, that we don't produce hormones efficiently, that we don't turn our brain repair on efficiently, that we don't turn on DNA repair efficiently, that that our blood sugars are higher, that our insulin production is higher. All the things that we don't want happen when we don't sleep. And so too little sleep is linked to increased DNA damage. So when we damage our DNA, we leads to more chronic diseases and higher risk of death from all causes. And I'm afraid that many recently have taken shots that damage our DNA. That, we're seeing a lot of the ramifications of the increased cancers, increased heart attacks, increased strokes, increased seizures. Seeing a lot of folks with seizures, a lot of women with menstrual irregularities. So, in order to help our DNA heal, and in order to keep our DNA healthy, and in order to keep us at lower risk for heart disease, cancer, strokes, blood clots, diabetes, depression, obesity, we need to sleep well. So, an important study from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine found that just one night of bad sleep is enough to make adults age faster. And there's research that shows that 5 nights of 4 hours or less sleep increases the risk of, doesn't increase the risk. It gives us the mental capacity of being legally drunk, because our brains can't handle it. Our brains can't function. So when we don't sleep well, 4 hours or less for 5 straight nights, we have the mental capacity of being legally drunk. And that's just what the research shows. So I want you to think about this as not just being asleep, but we need to be getting quality sleep where these repair things can go on. This DNA repair, this hormone production, all these things can go on. So what happens is a lot of folks don't sleep well, right? And rather than looking for a natural way, they may be on a prescription drug. They may be on an over-the-counter drug for sleep. But here's the scenario that I always use with those prescription drugs for sleep, especially. Think of and when I'm talking about these drugs, I'm talking about drugs like Ambien and those kind of drugs. So when we're talking about these drugs, I tell everybody, if you lay down and you take my 5 organic chelated salt magnesium and you go to sleep, you're asleep, right? That's asleep. Or even if you lay down and don't take my 5 organic salt magnesium and you can go to sleep without a drug, you're asleep. The magnesium will increase quality of the sleep. It will increase the energy production necessary for DNA repair. It will help people wake up with more energy, but you can do it with or without it. But some people require a drug such as an Ambien, a Xanax, one of those type drugs to go to sleep. The difference is being asleep and being knocked out. So those drugs are sedatives. And those drugs are like me hitting somebody in the head with a baseball bat and laying them on the couch, or the bed. They look asleep, but they're really just knocked out, versus getting a quality night's sleep. And so, unfortunately, for folks who use those drugs, they have a higher risk of death from all causes. And that doesn't correlate with the study that I'm just talking about, with the increased risk of all these chronic diseases from not sleeping. If they're taking a sleeping pill, and we'll call it quote sleeping, but they're really just knocked out, they're not getting the repairs. So there has to be a problem with that type of being knocked out versus sleeping. The good news is, for most people, that we can take the magnesium and help most people sleep. Now, it's not 100%, but for most people, we can give them the magnesium, the right dose at bedtime, and they just have a much higher quality of sleep, better at going to sleep, better staying asleep. We do other things I talked a lot. If you watch my video about L-theanine, magnesium, melatonin, I went into some of the research and some of the reasons why we would use those to help people also. But they did I got a piece of paper right here because I couldn't remember all this, but researchers studied adults between 61 and 86 years of age for 4 nights. They analyzed their sleep patterns. They took a blood sample every morning to determine what changes occurred on a cellular level. The results showed that even one night of poor sleep, I've already kind of summarized this, caused DNA damage consistent with faster biological aging. And so just one night of poor sleep, but how many people do that night after night after night after night after night? And so we need to help people understand the steps that they need to take in order to get a good night's sleep. And we talked about some of this for you members in some of the videos, but I just want to reiterate and remember, help you remember, summarize what we talked about, because I think that it's really important that you hear things over and over, which is a great reason y'all go back in your member zone and watch the videos again. But repetition, right? The more times we hear it, the more likely we are to take it into our mind and to understand it. And by the way, after the video tonight and you ask all your questions and things, you need to go get a good night's sleep, a good quality night's sleep, because the way we make memory is when we sleep. So we need to make sure that we get good night's sleep. That's when the brain repairs. That's when the memories are made. That's when our hormones are made. So that's when our DNA is repaired, right? That makes our insulin and sugar cells and cells work better. So everything works better when we get good sleep. All right. So one of the number one things we talk about is try to set a schedule. Try to set some kind of schedule where you are trying to get prepared to go to bed somewhere reasonably close every night, and try to get in the bed, lay down in the bed somewhere reasonably close every night. I know we all have different schedules and different events, but try to be as consistent as you reasonably can. The other thing, or the next thing I should say, that's really important is to start blocking the blue light. And what do I mean by blue light? Computer screens, iPhone screens, iPad screens, just general lights in our house, especially LED, way worse to produce blue light than incandescent bulbs. And these blue lights, and I know they look white to us, they don't look blue, but it's blue to our body. And that tells the pineal gland in our brain not to produce melatonin because it's daytime, which is why it gets daylight in the morning to wake us up and the sun comes up, right? And it gets dark at night, and that is our cue to start producing melatonin. But what we've done is we can have TVs and screens and telephones and all these different gadgets, right? Going, checking emails. I mean, I don't know, all this stuff. And it's a constant signal to our body that it's daytime. And when we stay awake too much and we don't produce enough melatonin, we increase our risk of cancers. Because melatonin is a very powerful antioxidant. And so I gave you the research in a previous video about women who sleep less than 6 hours have much higher rates of cancer. Then this research from tonight that I mentioned says that everybody's cancer rate goes up. It's not just women. So if you sleep less than 6 hours a night. So we just need to try to make sure that we're taking care of these things. So some type of generalized time to go to bed every night and get up every day, and starting to block this blue light, making sure that we're sleeping in a cool, dark room. So we need it to be cool, We need it to be completely dark because the studies show that light, even on our calf, can affect our melatonin production. Not as much as what goes through our eyes, but even light on our calf on our leg, can affect our melatonin production. So, one of the comments here is, how do I worry less and sleep more? Which is a really good question, right? Because a lot of times people will tell me, hey, I don't sleep because I'm thinking of the 40 things I need to get done tomorrow, right? And I call that mind chatter. Like the mind is racing. The mind is saying, oh my gosh, in the morning, I gotta, get the kids to school. I gotta, whatever, I got a business meeting. I have a bill to pay. I gotta be somewhere, whatever all those issues are, our mind is turned on. So it's a great question. How do I worry less? How do I sleep more? And one of the things that we do is obviously meditation and prayer can help with that. But supplement wise, L-theanine is an amino acid that we have that comes from green tea, and it can really help calm the system. It can really help calm the brain. We use it a lot for anxiety. We use it for ADD and ADHD. We just use it for high stress people, period. So it really works well to help calm the mind and help the body kind of turn the mind down at night to go to sleep. But during the day, it has an amazing ability to help us concentrate better on the task at hand. So if I'm supposed to be working on this project, I'm not thinking about the other 4 projects in no way, because there's another question here. Let me find it in my, where was it? L-theanine. Because it ties right into the other question that was just asked. Oh my gosh, there's so many, y'all. Give me just a second. Oh, can you talk more about L-theanine, which we're doing because the other question kind of triggered that. And will it make me tired if I use it during the day for my anxiety? No, is the answer. L-theanine increases alpha brain waves. It'll actually make you more alert. So during the day, it'll make you more alert, but at night, it'll help you take all those other things off your mind so you're more alert about your sleep. So L-theanine is a very beneficial supplement for anxiety, addictions. It can help with addictive behaviors. It can help with stress. It certainly can help people sleep. It helps with the ADD, ADHD issues. And so that is one way. That's certainly not the only way. It's a great question. How do I worry less and sleep more? L-theanine, the magnesium is very calming to the mind and the body. So we find the combination of the OptiU 5 organic chelated salt magnesium and the prescriptions plus L-theanine that I formulate really make a big difference. And then we have 2 versions of melatonin. One is a sustained release melatonin. So some people say, I go to sleep, but I wake up. So this will release over a 6-hour period. We want to make sure we get that 6 hours in slowly over 6 hours. And we have a chewable melatonin, which is more quicker acting. Now, some people take both. Some people take the magnesium, melatonin, the L-theanine. I personally do that. And not so much that I can't sleep without it. I just know the studies on how good these things are for our overall health. So we use that. We use a lot of melatonin for cancer patients because of the research on it as an anti-cancer. So we do that. Somebody asked, how do you spell L-theanine? That's a really good question. It's L-THENINE. And they said, where do you get it? There's probably other places to get L-theanine, but I have the one that I formulate. It's the one that I prefer. I have a liquid and a capsule. The liquid works much quicker. Capsule, not as fast, but it's a personal preference. But just remember, everybody, and I should point this out probably at every live Zoom, I need to be reminded to repeat these things to people. 80% of supplements on the market don't contain any of the active ingredients listed on the label. 95% were actually found to be toxic, have toxic ingredients in them. So you need to be really particular when we're talking about being good CEOs of what we put in our bodies. And I do consultations every day, and I tell people, I'm sorry, but this is a toxic ingredient in your so-called supplement, and it's 80% chance it doesn't have what you thought it had in it anyway. So great questions, y'all. Keep bringing the questions on. But we want you to have that schedule. We want you to start blocking blue light or turning blue light off at night, even better. We want you to be in a cool, dark room. We want to make sure you've at least taken 3 or more of the OptiURX magnesium before you lay down. It may amaze you if you measure your sleep on an Apple Watch or, however, Fitbit, whatever you're using, an app, to take the magnesium and just watch how your sleep improves. Now, some people just know it, they feel it, but some people say, hey, I sleep fine already. I don't know if I need magnesium. And I say, well, measure your sleep quality. And almost universally, they'll come back and go, wow. So we have literally helped thousands of people get off Ambien and those type drugs over the years using magnesium, sometimes with the addition of L-theanine and melatonin. So those are kind of the top supplements that we use for sleep, because of the side effects of the drugs we've talked about in that Ambien, that non-diazepine sleep category. There are other drugs that they use for sleep quite often, like a trazodone is another drug that's used a lot for sleep, and it can have the average prescription drug has 398 side effects. Well-documented Stanford School of Medicine study that I have in my book, The 21st Century Pharmacist. But trazodone has the uncanny ability to shrink our brain. So, obviously, if we can use something like magnesium with 350 positive benefits, that's going to be an advantage over a drug with 398 side effects that one class shrinks my brain, the other class causes me to die sooner from all causes. So the whole message is to try to help people understand, as good CEOs, that there are alternatives out there that we can try first. And then if they don't work, then maybe you have to use some of these drugs. But if we can avoid them or minimize them, we're always going to be, we're always going to have a better outcome. So, obviously, in any prescription drugs, I'm not a doctor, work with your doctor, but they just don't understand the supplements generally. They're not taught it. They don't get it. Pharmacists don't understand it, don't get it. It's just not taught. And I teach at a pharmacy school my wellness program as an elective, and believe me, they don't get any of this kind of information. None, zero, unless they take my elective. They're not going to have a clue when you ask them. So some of the things that you can do is you can get blue blocking glasses that you can put on a few hours before bedtime. So if you're going to be up and about and doing things, but you're going to need lights on, or you want to watch a little television at night or do something on your computer, at least wear the blue blocking glasses. It's not perfect, but it does block some of the blue light from going through the eyes, and that can really help. Another thing is to either have blackout curtains or have a sleep mask so that you can get complete darkness. We talk about and teach people to tape over, take out their clocks, whatever. Don't sleep with a phone or a computer or an iPad, anything with Wi-Fi near you, unless you're going to put it in airplane mode. That severely interferes with the sleep. And another, maybe one of the best benefits of the 5 organic chelated salt OptiU magnesium is that it helps protect our cells against all the EMFs, the electromagnetic fields from the Wi-Fi's and things that we're around. And now with 5G and all this other stuff, I mean, it's just getting stronger and stronger and worse and worse. So magnesium is a massive protector of the damage from to our cells from all this Wi-Fi stuff that we're around. The question is, what do I think about CPAP? Well, if you have sleep apnea, CPAP is critical. But usually, not always, but usually people who use our program take our supplements. Magnesium helps really relax that issue, getting to the proper weight if somebody's not the proper weight, lowering insulin, lowering sugar. We've helped many, many people not need CPAP. But if you need it, you need it, because oxygen is obviously critical. Again, our goal is to help people understand how to get themselves to a point where they don't need CPAPs and things. So what do I think about it? I think if you need it, it's a great thing. If you can get your body to a point where it works without it well and you sleep good at night, a really simple trick, y'all. I mean, this trick is so easy, I hesitate to tell you because you're going to think I'm crazy. But a really simple trick for some people is to take a little piece of tape, and I would suggest like a micropore or a paper tape, not packing tape. That's not what I mean, but like a medical kind of tape. And you just take a piece of tape and at night at bedtime, and you go up and down. You don't go all the way across. You just go up and down, and you tape your lips closed, just like that. Not tight, just a piece of tape right here. You can still breathe through the side, but it will force you and train you to breathe more through your nose than through your mouth when you sleep. So it can help, number one, with snoring. It can help with CPAP issues. But when we breathe through our nose, one of the questions was a great one, was about what do I do to be less stressed and sleep more. One of the things you can do is breathe through your nose and not through your mouth. But obviously, when we're asleep, we're not conscious of how we're breathing. So just a little piece of tape right here is a great little trick, hack to help us breathe better through the nose, less through the mouth, cuts down on snoring, helps with the CPAP issues. And it just really can help you rest better and get up and feel better. If your internet modem is in your bedroom, does that have an impact on not sleeping well? Absolutely. My suggestion is to everybody, not just those that have an internet modem in their bedroom, is to unplug or turn off all your Wi-Fi when you're asleep. Set it on a timer. You can buy these timers that go in your plug-in where that's plugged in, and it just goes off, let's say at, I don't know, 9 or 10 at night, and it comes back on at 6, 7, 8 in the morning. Yes, that is a real problem, and that does have a very negative effect, not only on our sleep, but on our overall quality of life and health. Because again, that EMF, those electromagnetic fields, really damage the cells in our body, and there are trillions of cells in our body. They're made up of a membrane of fat and cholesterol, and that membrane is designed to let good things in and not let bad things in. But that membrane gets damaged by lots of things: sugar, insulin, alcohol, smoke. But one of the main things that damages that membrane, taking a drug that blocks our cholesterol damages that membrane very badly. But these internet issues, these Wi-Fi issues, damage that membrane. And that's where the magnesium is so important to help protect that membrane. So it helps minimize that damage, hopefully stopping that damage. But we got to do our part and try not to be around Wi-Fi or have the modem next to us when we're sleeping, or the cell phone next to us when we're sleeping. So great question, y'all. Let me look at another question here. Oh, this is a really good question. Are there any bad side effects of magnesium? Well, that's really a question that is, you got to talk about what kind of magnesium first. So if you're asking me the question, are there any bad side effects of magnesium? Remember, 80% of supplements don't contain any of the active ingredients. 95% in that same study had toxins in them. And most magnesiums, not all, but most magnesiums on the market are laxatives. So if you think of the bottles, you probably all remember this, or they're still around. The green bottles of magnesium, or they're red. They can be a cherry flavored or a lemon lime flavor. They're green, that you drink before a colonoscopy. Well, that's magnesium, but it's not the forms of magnesium that are in the product that I produce, that I formulate. So can there be bad side effects of magnesium? The most common one is going to be diarrhea or stomach upset with the wrong forms of magnesium if you got too much. But with our 5 organic chelated salt magnesium, the only thing, it's not really a side effect, but if you took it directly at the same time with certain antibiotics, you could interfere with absorption. But so no, I mean, we recommend that everybody use at least 3 of our OptiU magnesium at bedtime. That's a very bare minimum. For most of us and people who've been through the weekend, most are taking somewhere between 6 and 15 a night or a day total. May not all be at night, because magnesium helps us rest, helps us produce energy. It's the #1 nutrient deficiency in America today, and it has 350 positive functions in our body. So side effects to the right magnesium, no. Muscle cramps, headaches, high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, high heart rates, muscle recovery, sleep, hormone production, cramps. I don't know if I said restless legs. I mean, all these things are magnesium deficiencies. By the way, a lot of high blood pressure, a lot of high heart rate, just magnesium deficiency. But people don't understand you got to get a magnesium that gets into the cellular level to be able to help. And that's what we do, not one that goes through the colon and causes to irritate the colon so you go to the bathroom. So hopefully that answers that question. But that's a really good question. Are there any bad side effects to magnesium? Then there's a second part to this question. The recommended dose of your magnesiums is 3 capsules. Is that something I should start slowly, 1 a day for a couple of days, then 2 a day, etc.? Probably not. 3 is probably not going to do everything you need it to do, but 3 is much better than not 3. 1 is better than none, but again, magnesium deficiency, 100% of diabetics in the studies are magnesium deficient. We'll talk later about why that is. It's not really hard to figure out. If you're tired, again, headaches, muscle cramps, restless legs, menstrual irregularities. I mean, I can't think of all of them right now, but it is just an amazing, amazing product. Almost every single prescription and over-the-counter drug depletes magnesium levels also. We're already depleted in America, but these drugs make it much worse. When we take that, magnesium, magnesium levels, somebody's saying have magnesium levels in our modern diet have plummeted. Yes. We are taking in less than half the magnesium from foods than we did a couple of decades ago. So we don't get near as many. It's not just magnesium, it's all nutrients, which is why I have the foundational 4, because I believe that the research shows they are critical. Does magnesium help with cholesterol? Yeah, magnesium, not so much directly with cholesterol. It's a great question, but my question comes back to you as a good CEO. Why do you want to lower your cholesterol? And I'm not picking on you or saying you particularly. Why does the medical community continually tell us that we need to lower our cholesterol? Cholesterol is an antioxidant. Cholesterol is essential for life. Cholesterol helps make up those membrane of the cells that I was talking about. The brain uses a tremendous amount of cholesterol. Now, cholesterol ratios, how much triglycerides do I have to how much HDL do I have, that matters. Magnesium does help somewhat with that, but that's not our go-to supplement for that. But it's a really good question. The main thing that magnesium can do to help cholesterol is it can help the insulin and sugar work better. And insulin and sugar is really the driving factor. Okay, and y'all are going to need to remember this, members, for next month's classes. I'm really excited about next month's videos you're going to be getting starting this Friday as we talk about this, because sugar and insulin are driving almost everything you can think of today. All right. And by the way, 80% of Americans are either overweight or obese. I can tell you that's sugar and insulin. That's insulin. And nobody outside the people that get my blood panel that I created are getting their insulin levels tested. Okay, so I have a friend that has 7 stents, heart bypass, and they've been giving her cholesterol medication for years. Absolutely, I get it, and that's what they do. That's not unusual, but I can tell you cholesterol did not cause their need for 7 stents. It was not the cause. It may have been found there at the site because cholesterol comes to repair the damage, and so we blame cholesterol. So here's the easy way to think about this. When the medical community says, well, cholesterol caused your problems, it's like your house is on fire and you go home and the fire department's there and you start asking the fireman, you say, hey, why are you here? And he says, well, neighbors called your house on fire. You say, well, why did you set it on fire? And the fireman goes, we didn't set it on fire. We just came to put it out. And that's kind of the same scenario with this friend. Cholesterol was there to try to put the fire in the artery out. So I think we're approaching it the wrong way. I think the science 100% backs me. And I'll tell you a quick reason why. 70% of people that have a heart attack have normal cholesterol. So how can it be cholesterol? If 7 out of 10 people that have a heart attack have normal cholesterol, we can't blame cholesterol, right? My question is, what's your friend's A1C? What's your friend's insulin level? And the problem is it's never been checked. So magnesium won't directly help with their cholesterol, but it is awesome for their heart and the fact they have stents and a bypass. Now, another great question. What's your cholesterol go to if it's not magnesium? That is an awesome question, and it's a complicated question. When you're talking about supplements, we use the Prescriptions Plus Healthy Cholesterol Support that I formulated. We use the Prescriptions Plus Fish Focus. Those things can really be beneficial to help those ratios, but you got to control insulin and you got to control sugar. That's the bottom line to really fix the issue. But there are other reasons we would take healthy cholesterol support and fish focus because they are tremendous for other things. But really good line of questioning, y'all. So keep bringing them on. It is 7 o'clock, but I'll be glad to answer a few more if y'all want. I don't want to keep you too long. Here's one. Last time in the last live session, you talked about the relationship between magnesium and vitamin D. Yes, I did. If you have low magnesium, the studies show it takes double the amount of vitamin D to get you to the same levels as somebody with adequate magnesium. Do I need to take them at the same time? I want to take the magnesium at night, but I'm afraid the vitamin D could potentially keep me up at night. All right, so that's a really good question, and here's the answer. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, so you need to take vitamin D with a meal. The studies show it's best absorbed, best used with your evening meal. It will not keep you up at night. The magnesium can certainly be taken at a meal, at your evening meal, but we most typically give the biggest dose of magnesium at bedtime. So not with a meal, but right before bedtime. And then, like for myself, again, I take one in the morning or two in the morning and one at lunch. And then I take 12 at bedtime. So you don't have to take them together. There's nothing wrong with taking them together, but your vitamin D always needs to be taken with food because it's a fat soluble vitamin. So good question. What are your thoughts on morning sunlight to help waking up and supporting circadian rhythm? It's critical. I mean, we stay inside all day, right? We stay inside all day. Our cars have tinted windows. Our windows on our house have tinted windows. Our offices have tinted windows. Your circadian rhythm to make your serotonin and your melatonin do not work properly without sunlight. And I talk about this all the time, but you understand that Alaska and Seattle have the highest depression and suicide rates. I want to say in America, it may be the entire world, but certainly in America. And they have traced that back to low number of daylight hours, especially in Alaska. In the winter, I understand there's almost no daylight at all, and then in Seattle it rains all the time. Well, not all the time. It rains a lot, so there's limited sunshine, and that leads to depression and all kind of things. When we don't see sun, we don't produce as much serotonin, which is one of our feel-good hormones. And that serotonin then at night should be converted to melatonin. And by the way, something I talk about a lot, if somebody is depressed, are they getting sunlight? Are they walking? Are they getting outside? Are they exercising? Are they moving? What's their vitamin D? But more importantly, what's their gut health? Because about 95% of the serotonin is made in the gut. So if somebody's got depression, I think we should always start with the gut and not with Prozac. That's just makes more sense to me, because those drugs over time can actually make the depression worse, and in younger folks, it can increase suicide risk. So I think if we look at it differently, we would find different ways. But watch the videos coming up. Watch the video. Well, I don't know if it's this Friday, but one of the next couple of Fridays, we're going to talk a lot about depression and the topic of next month. Let me see. Is there another one I want to answer real quick? Oh, good one. What are the recommendations you have for someone who has trouble waking up in the morning? Number one, take the multi twice a day, the OptiU multivitamin twice a day. Take the magnesium at bedtime. Get up, see the sun, get a good night's sleep. There's no preference here, no prerequisite telling me how they sleep or anything. But people who don't wake up well in the morning are typically stressed out. So the L-theanine can really help with that. May need to do some adrenal support products. But getting up, seeing the sun, making sure you're getting a good night's sleep, following the things we talked about, setting schedule, doing the things we talked about, would be the answer. All right. If I don't, there's more questions, but I think some of them are kind of duplicate. So, I should have. Yeah, this is a great question because one of the videos was about alcohol. Here's the bottom line. I'm going to make this really quick, y'all. I tell everybody, I'm not telling you to drink, not to drink. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm trying to give you information. The information in the new study that I talked about was that they found no amount of alcohol was beneficial whatsoever. Because I've heard for the last 32 years doing this, I just drink my wine at night because number one, it helps me sleep and it's good for my heart. And I've told everybody that's nonsense if you believe it helps you sleep or is good for your heart. But there's plenty of data now in a brand new research study that I talked about that shows that not only does it interfere with your sleep probably more than anything, again, you're taking a sedative when you drink, so it may knock you out, but you are not getting the quality of sleep. It is a great interferer. It is proven to interfere with your quality of sleep. You do not get any heart benefits from drinking alcohol, according to the study. It's always been, well, if I drink my wine, I get my resveratrol. You could drink a whole vat of wine, a whole barrel of wine, and not get enough resveratrol to make any difference. If If you want resveratrol, I have a product I formulated called Resveramax. But the main part of that study was, and I'm glad this question came up at the last second, is that alcohol in any amount decreases the prefrontal cortex of our brain. So it doesn't matter if it's a drink a night, if it's a drink on the weekend, if it's 7 on the weekend, it doesn't matter. It shrinks the brain. So it interferes with sleep, shrinks the brain. It cuts off all fat burning and healing processes because alcohol is a poison and the body is trying to get rid of the poison. Hence, that's why it makes you go to the bathroom more, because the body has to convert the alcohol it's a toxin. It has to convert it in the liver, through a substance called glutathione, into something that's a water-soluble toxin that we can then pee out. And the problem with that is your glutathione is your number one master antioxidant. So things that deplete glutathione are increasing risk of all diseases, all DNA damage, all these things. So thank you for reminding me that I was supposed to talk a little bit more about alcohol and sleep and all the other negative effects. All right. I think that does it. It's 7:08. Thank you all for being here. If you're not a member and you want to become a member and get all the videos, please go to optiurx.com and you can click on subscription. But thank you all for being here. We appreciate it very much. Thanks. Bye-bye.